So Michelle, for today, we're going to talk about obviously, well, maybe even bringing in your experience and clients' experiences as well with regards to using CBD oil, the type of CBD oil as well. So I know there's confusion around CBD oil and whether, it's legal, illegal, is there anything in there that's going to make you drowsy, or, that is it actually going to work? Do you have enough of the key ingredients that we need to make it work? Because I know, obviously, when we had that initial conversation, that there's quite a lot of inferior products on the market. So people may have used CBD oil before and thought,
didn't work, didn't taste well, I didn't get.
Maybe they didn't take enough, or it wasn't a superior enough blend to have.
I always describe it, there's lots of CBD out there, but there's a massive spectrum of the good, the bad and the ugly. And as well as, even when you've got a really good quality product like mine, the dosage and timing is imperative and key to the results that you get, and the length of time that you're on it. And that's where I always say, don't just take it and think you know what you're doing. Come and speak to me. That I've got years of experience with it, and that's what I prefer. So I'd rather spend an hour with somebody explaining it, and educate them, and then they can get the most out of the products, get its results that we want. We want results from it, and therefore, and then I've educated them, and that my job's done then. So and then they can go and get themselves on the wellness journey. So
you remind me, when did you first set your company up and start doing CBD oil?
So I discovered CBD, God, it's about 5 years ago now, of my own mental health journey. But then this is what always happens with CBD. You start taking it for one thing, and then you start seeing all these other things that it helps with, and I'll explain the science behind that. And what I did realise, because of my background of research and everything, I realised that not all CBD was equal, as we've discussed, and some of the information that was given was like Chinese whispers, and it was like, that doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense, and I got really frustrated with the industry. So my company's been going about 18 months now, but a year before that, I spent a year before I launched making sure I was bringing the best product that I possibly could do to market, and that's what took the time, and then making sure I branded it correctly, that made it transparent for everybody to understand, and try and explain to people that my ethos of the company is about helping people, not making money. The rest of that will come because of the ethics behind the company. It's my why. And people are starting to know that they can trust my products and what I tell them. And I'm learning this. It is a new thing, so to speak, in science terms, because it was discovered in the late 90s, really, by scientists in Tel Aviv, in Israel, who were basically trying to work out what THC, that's the bit that gets you high out of the cannabis plant, and what effect that has on your body. And while they were discovering it, these amazing scientists, they discovered this thing called an endocannabinoid system that every mammal has. So every human, every mammal, every dog, every cat, we were talking about our little pets before, and we have this very intricate system, and that's where it started from, and they started to tap into the potential of what that endocannabinoid system is. And what they realised is cannabinoids, and THC is one of those cannabinoids, interact with that system in a really positive way. So that's the kind of beginning bit of the science. So going back a step further, your endocannabinoid system is a series of receptors through your body and signalling process that sends the right signals to all of your cells, your nervous system, and it's spread throughout your body, and it sends these signals and allows your body to balance and harmonise and perform in optimum, so you thrive, not survive. And what they started to realise is that signalling can get a little bit out of kilter. The receptors aren't as receptive, you don't produce enough cannabinoids, because we naturally produce these cannabinoids in our bodies. Sometimes we have molecules that eat these cannabinoids, and sometimes, because it's quite a complicated system, so you have these molecules, these cannabinoids, it then sends a signal to a receptor, it does its job, and then you have an enzyme that goes, thanks very much, you've done the job to that molecule, and then the system is supposed to then go, we've done our job, back to balance. But what tends to happen is that system becomes out of alignment due to stress, environmental factors, aging is a massive factor, and it all becomes a little bit skewed, and then we start to your body will generally upregulate things too much, so too much pain inflammation, too much hormones are produced, and we all know as we age we get these weird and wonderful things that happen to us and our body just gets out of alignment. What they discovered is that the cannabinoids, one of the famous ones is called endocannabinoid, which is a bliss hormone, really responsible for many things to do make you feel well, this feeling of well-being. It taps into your endocrine system, so all your hormones and all those glands. It's linked into your gut, which is why we're talking about gut, because as you know, our gut is almost like our second brain. There's an awful lot of these receptors in our brain, in our gut and in our brain. And those receptors are responsible for pain, the inflammation that we talked about, making sure that your gastric tract works correctly, so the motions are coming through, and your microbiome. So these are all these things that we started to discover. What they discovered in CBD, so in cannabis plants, that actually the phytocannabinoids, so all these wonderful cannabinoids in this plant, replicate our natural cannabinoids in almost a very, very similar way. So in the cannabis plant, and then they're like, this is amazing. So if you supplement that into your body, they're not sure whether it makes you produce more cannabinoids. They're not sure whether it keeps your cannabinoids in your system longer. They're not sure whether it makes your receptors more receptive, and they're not sure whether it keeps these enzymes from gobbling up these cannabinoids. So, but what we do know, it has a positive impact on the whole of that system. And the reason why we're saying we think it does, we think it doesn't, because it's still in its infancy from this science, but we know it's positive. So that's your system, and here's the cannabis side of it. So cannabis isn't just getting you high. There are loads of different species of cannabis. Some have, and the cannabinoids in there have amazing healing potential. But we've been indoctrinated to believe that it just gets you high. It's illegal. You will get stoned. You'll get the munchies. All these things, all these bad connotations. That's THC. That is one cannabinoid in 140 cannabinoids within the plant. So if that's to put it into perspective. And each different species of the cannabis plant has a different profile of those cannabinoids. Some don't have very much THC and some have a lot. So the products that we make into CBD have a very low threshold of THC, really, really low, much lower than you would need to get high. And then it's produced into these amazing CBD products, and that's your raw CBD. So hope I've explained that right. And then we have 3 different types of CBD.
Okay. I didn't know we had 3 different types of CBD.
So so within that there are good and bad and the ugly.
Sure.
We have full spectrum, which is mine, which means it has the full spectrum of cannabinoids. It contains all of those wonderful cannabinoids in the plant, those 140 that we talk about, because each single one has a different type of thing that it does to your body. Some help with pain, some help with inflammation, some help with working with your hormones a little bit better. And they actually say that and a microscopic dose of THC in a very, very low quantity has phenomenal health benefits, particularly for your gut. It's all the science, it's the THC that helps. When you put all of that together in a full spectrum product, it has what's called an entourage effect. So it works better as a whole. It's like a wheel with cogs on. You remove one of those cogs, it'll work, but not as well. And I always use the analogy, you're better eating a whole orange than just squeezing the juice out of it. So that is everything.
Completely, yeah. And it makes total sense. And it's the same when we're looking at nutritional supplements as well. It's like, for example, turmeric. So for a long time it was just curcumin. Curcumin is part of turmeric. But then when the more research, more testing was done, it's like, actually, no, you need the whole of the turmeric in order to have those anti-inflammatory properties that it provides. And it's plus that you need spice and you need fat. So it's similar with CBD oil. It's like it works synergistically. Remove half of them or whatever it might be, you're not going to get the same result. That makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. So that leads on to some people have what's called a broad spectrum. That means it's THC free. They've still got some of those other cannabinoids and it's had the THC completely removed. Now, if you're going to do that, you might as well just have an isolate product, which is the next product down. Now, I do have a CBD isolate because I do have some clients who can't take THC because of their job. They get drugs tested, even though what's in that is so microscopic and very legal. I still have that option for certain clientele, that sports professionals who get drugs tested, certain industries just get randomly drugs tested. So I have that option for people, but if you're going to take it, you take the full spectrum one, because it, as you just beautifully described, it works better. So those are the 3 different types. So yes, and CBD should be a gold. So again, within that realm, there's 2 different types. There's raw CBD, which is black, sometimes green, and taste like the bottom of a bin. And you will want to wipe your tongue. That is because it's raw. It's not had this second level of distillation. It's usually squeezed, and it's the cheapest form of process. So people pass it off. Some of our diehards, let's say the people who are I can't describe it in a way that's probably, I don't want to sound offensive, but people who are true cannabis users, I think is the nicest way, will want that squeezed, fresh everything, because they are sort of true cannabis people. We're talking about CBD. So when you squeeze that plant, it's the cheapest form of making it, but it leaves a lot of the waxes in there, a lot of the chlorophyll, the stuff that you don't actually need, and it's unstable. So when it's processed into the raw format, it then degrades over time. So they might test it and go, there's 500 milligrams in there. A month later, there might be 200 milligrams because it's degraded. Mine is a golden CBD, which has had a second level of distillation. I don't know if you can see, it's totally golden. Sorry, I'm shaking because I've been in the gym, and you've done a weights workout. Crikey, I've lifted a few weights today.
I couldn't tell.
CBD.
People, never mind working out. We know.
My God, it was really tough today. So yeah, and then what it does, it removes those bits that we don't need. Then it tastes better, because the whole point is you have to hold it under your tongue to absorb it. If something doesn't taste nice, we're going to wallop it down. You're not getting the absorption. And also, it doesn't degrade over time. So when that is tested, we do have a shelf life of 18 months, just because it does need a best before. If you tested it 18 months later, it will be the same. So that's another reason. But the biggest reason is it tastes amazing. But there's a cost involved in that. So I will sell that possibly at the same price as somebody who's selling a raw, but they're passing the raw off. And that's the cheap bargain basement stuff. That's like your fish fingers that have been scraped off the floor. These are your fish fingers from Waitrose and other very good establishments. So this is your Grand Cru, the Premier Premium. So that's what you want, is a golden CBD. So, and that's basically how it works. We take a certain amount of CBD, and everybody's journey is different. So that's kind of the ECS system, what to look for with a decent product, and then we get on to dosage and timing. So that's the next key thing. So CBD is very much an individual journey. We start everybody on 25 milligrams, because that's deemed as an average dose for an average person. As we all know, none of us are average. We are all individuals. And your weight, your metabolic rate, and the severity of your condition that you're treating, and the condition, will all have an effect. So we start you on 25 milligrams, but, so for example, I am 8.5 stone wet through. So you'd think I wouldn't need much, but my metabolic rate, as you know, Ruth, is through the roof. And I exercise. And I have quite a few bits going on. So I take about 40 milligrams a day. But it's taken me probably 6 weeks to find that, when I first started taking it, to find that dose. And CBD, you can alter the dose through the week, through the day, through the month. So, for example, if you're taking it for anxiety, which is linked to the gut, you may go, do you know what, I've had a really chill day today, I'll stick at my 25 milligrams. The next day, the dog's at your homework, the cat's been sick, somebody's annoyed you, and you've spilt your milk all over the floor, and you're up here. You may need a little bit more that day, because your own natural body's a little bit more stressed. So you can take a little bit more.
How do you know what 25 ml is?
So each bottle, I have 3 different sizes. Now this is where people get a bit confused, but it's actually really simple maths. They're all the same size. So they're all the same size bottle. 500 milligrams, that contains 1,000, and that contains 2,000 milligrams. So all that you're buying when the price goes up is more milligrams of CBD, more 25 milligram dosage. So to get 25 milligrams on the first bottle, the 500, you literally get 500 and divide it by, there's 200 drops in there.
Okay.
And it's simple maths. That's how we do it. Obviously, some bottles will maybe have 1 or 2 drops more or less, but it's roughly 200 drops. So on the 500 milligrams, to get your 25 milligrams a day is 10 drops.
Okay.
And when we talk about a drop, we don't, oh God, I shouldn't have done my weights. It's literally a raindrop like that.
Yeah.
I've had people who've done a full pipette.
I'll bet. Yeah.
So it's raindrops.
People that would, just get one and two.
Why is all my bottle gone? And I'm really chilled and no pain. So 10 drops on the 500. The 1,000 milligrams is double the strength. So you only need 5 drops to get 25 milligrams.
Okay.
And this is where the math goes a little bit wrong. On the 2,000 milligrams, we need 2.5 drops. So 2 to 3 drops, and that's it to get you 25 milligrams. And most people, we do recommend you start on a 6-week program because it has a cumulative effect. The longer you're on it, your body gets used to that signalling. And the longer you're on it even still, the better that gets. And sometimes a lot of people, when they've been on it a long time, can drop that dosage down. Think of it like going to the gym. The first time you go to the gym, you do not know what to do. And you're like me, you're shaking everywhere and you're sweating. Do the workout 3 weeks later and it feels a lot easier.
For sure.
So think of CBD the same as that. So that's the rule of thumb. However, if you will find you may take 6 weeks to find what your ideal dose is. And the MHRA that I take all my legislation from, so there is actually legislation out there, say a maximum of 70 milligrams a day. Now, the research that I've been doing on gut health, you do tend to need a little bit more than the 25 milligrams, particularly if it's one of the like Crohn's disease or I can't think of the word my name's gone black, but the other
maybe.
Thank you, that's the word, yes. So that you do need a little bit more, and you can split your dose over the day, so you could maybe split it 4 times a day, almost like pain relief. So that's one of the things.
I would imagine if somebody's got an inflammatory condition, so any irritable bowel disease, if there's a lot of inflammation, if it's IBS, then it's a syndrome that there isn't inflammation, so thereby, if we were specifically talking then about for this particular video that we're doing, IBS, and more because of what's going on at the moment, stress.
It's always
related to IBS, and kind of that feeling of that tenseness, tightness, maybe some urgency going on, cramping possibly. What would you be recommending in terms of when to take, how much to take? And obviously that we've said everyone's an individual, so start them off anyway, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, 25 milligrams, that's where we start. And I would say split your dose between in the morning and an hour before bed. And the reason we say an hour before bed is because CBD, till you get your dosage right, can be what's called biphasic. A little bit can make you a little bit, a bit high, and you don't really want that before you go into bed.
No.
You get your dose right and get enough, and it can make you calm and relaxed. And when I say a little bit high, you're not going to be running around. Just some people, those first few days till they've got the dose right, say they get in bed and they're like, I'm really not ready for bed. And after a few days, they then go, I am ready for bed, and that's the biphasic. So if you do take it in the evening and find that you're getting in bed and thinking, God, I'm really not sleeping, just take some more, because your body needs a little bit more. So 25 milligrams, half in the morning, half an hour before bed. And you hold it under your tongue for a minute, because that's how it gets in your system. And after 2 or 3 days, if you're finding like the sleep thing at night, take a little bit more. Or you're still finding that you're still not there, up it a little bit. If you're also finding that, your IBS is fine, but next week I always linked, I also find with myself, my tummy is also related to my monthly cycle. So if your monthly cycle's coming in, your tummy's going to get a little bit icky, take a lunchtime dose as well, or up your dose that week. I use it, and we've discussed this before, so I get exercise-induced IBS. So I also take it about 30 minutes before I go running, and it really helps. Really good. Also, if hopefully one day we might get back out in the big wide world again and maybe get on a plane, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get on a plane and then my stomach starts. And,
I'm just so excited to be going on holiday.
Yeah, can you imagine? So don't be afraid to play around with it as well. That's the other thing. I think we discussed about my journey. So my anxiety has been terrible the last 8 weeks. There's a few things been going on, and it's really affecting my gut health. And you know that you were one of the first people that I came to about how do I calm and slow this down. So I really upped my dose now. Part of my IBS story was I've always had like exercise-induced IBS, or like I mentioned, if I get a little bit nervous, it always goes to my tummy and then it goes. But this was another level of cramps and wind. The pain was unbelievable. And I now have a small insight into people who are struggling with this day in, day out. And it was horrific. Horrific. That's the only way I can describe it. So I started going in, and that's why it's got me really involved in the research. I knew it had a great help with IBS type symptoms, but I didn't realise, and I started researching about dosage. So particularly about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and that's when my anxiety peaks for me. That's my peak time. I don't know why, that's just why when it is. I think it's because I get tired. And I was literally taking about 100 milligrams. Now, I will caveat that with I've been taking CBD for 5 years. I know what I need. And it switched the pain off in 20 minutes, literally. And I was like, I've researched something here. Something's worked. Was it because it's helped calm me? Was it because it had helped with the signalling system, the brain-gut balance of calm? Was it the fact that it helps with pain perception, which is shown to in all the research that I've read, because not just the CB1 and CB2 receptors, you have all these other receptors in your stomach, all these nerves, which also react to endocannabinoids and cannabinoids in your system. And I found that it just stopped it. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I spoke to quite a few people who take it regularly for Crohn, some of my Crohn's people. And yeah, it is phenomenal. And the research coming out on blind placebo tests, there's loads of research out there. Study after study after study shows, but it's high level dosage for those very serious conditions. And it's blown my mind how incredibly powerful that was. Now, I'm not saying that's the standalone. You still need to get to the root cause of why your gut health has gone off. So eating, changing, you're the expert on this, and that's why I came to you. But for me, for that time, it has been phenomenal, and I didn't have to turn to medication.
Well, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? You're actually taking something natural that works with the body, and you've got something that can act so quickly as well. So it's almost like a no-brainer to have a bottle of your CBD oil with you. So that you can, if you do have a flare up, if something stressful has happened or whatever it might be, like you say, yours is just maybe timing of you getting tired, that this is my pattern, this is when it's going to happen. It might be in early days, like you're saying, that if you know it's going to be around this time, take an hour before so that it's kind of kicked in by then. But yeah, I think it's just a big great.
Which leads me on to
we can do that.
Yeah, as well as if you didn't want to take the oil round with you, I do have capsules, and I'm actually getting some tablets made as well. So you could always have a few of them in your handbag or in your desk, because sometimes people don't want to be taking that in front of people because it looks different. It's, people are getting used to it. So if you had a tablet that you could take, so long as you've checked the ingredients and that doesn't affect your tummy. The other good one is the CBD tea, because you could put a couple of these in your bag. And funnily enough, I have quite a few teachers who use these because they have their herbal tea in the staff room, and people just think they're having a normal tea.
That's a good idea.
So these have been, so it literally is, and it's got the hemp in it. Smell amazing. And it's just got black tea and it's got the hemp in it, and that's a really nice way if you wanted to have those in your desk. Nobody would even question that, and it helps. And also, as you know, the water, the warmth can help calm and cool your tummy as well, so that's a really good one.
Hey, let me know if you ever do any green tea.
Yes, yeah, so I'll send you some over so you can try them.
Yeah, I'll try.
Well, funnily enough, green tea is full of phytocannabinoids. Yeah, and echinacea, so we know of all of these plants already.
and L-theanine, which helps to switch off the racing mind. Which
Yeah.
obviously got caffeine in there, so I never recommend clients going to have, you know, a lot of green tea just before bed, but drinking it throughout the day will help because of the L-theanine to calm down the racing mind if people are very much overactive and overthinking at night.
Yeah. So there's loads, and this is where it works in combination of us working together, because CBD, I'm still a great believer, it is a fantastic add-on to that wellness journey. This is not instead of or standalone, and that's why I get cross with companies who make out that is the be-all and end-all. It is not. It is part of that wellness journey. If you've got a dodgy elbow because bone's rubbing on bone, it is not going to fix it, but it will help with the pain perception. If you've got a chronic stomach condition, you need to fix it with other things first. Food, mindset stuff. This is part of that journey. It's part of seeking out people like you to find out why is my gut being affected by stress and anxiety. And the other research that I've been reading through about CBD is it's massively linked and triggered with stress. And I think we're all in a little bit of that at the moment.
The whole brain-gut connection, isn't it? It's
huge.
Like, you know, the gut is the second brain. It does all the same chemicals as does the brain. So, you know, clearly anything that's going to affect our, you know, way we think, any stressful situation is going to affect the gut. And I always say that people who are more sensitive anyway, because some people are just more sensitive than others. You know, we all know who we are. We've either got sensitive or overly sensitive. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it.
How many times do you say, oh, I have that gut feeling?
Well, totally. Where does that come from?
Yeah. And everybody knows that. Yeah, that feeling of butterflies when you're excited. Why do you not feel it in your head? You feel it in your tummy.
You do. Yeah. And the gut can work independently of the brain, so that's going to tell you something.
Yeah. And as I say, I've got a fast metabolism anyway, like we've discussed, but I've had, and it really shocked me because I thought my gut health, like we've had these discussions, I know I eat fast, but what I've then realised is that there's certain things that were triggering me, and this was definitely my anxiety that was linked to my stomach.
Yeah.
And you've helped me with, you know, mindful eating
and
sitting and how I eat. And actually what I was doing, I was getting burnout. So around Christmas I was super busy. It was fantastic for business, but not for me. I was getting up in the morning, straight on the computer, 2 cups of strong coffee down me, which is not good for your gut.
No.
And then skipping breakfast, which again is awful. I always eat a healthy fruit-filled carbohydrate breakfast, and it was getting till 11:30 and my stomach was going, oh my God, you're so hungry. And I was producing probably acid and all sorts. And I did that for about 6 weeks and then I crashed.
Yeah, surprised.
So because I
also with the caffeine being putting a lot of stress on your adrenal glands and firing off too much, so that you do that anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
caffeine on top of that with kind of nothing to soak it up.
Yeah.
Straight into the adrenals. They're going.
No wonder I fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
So what part of which you've helped me with, is it's water with lemon first thing in the morning now. I have my breakfast before I touch caffeine. I do love a cup of coffee, but I have it now as the treat after I put the good stuff back in. And then it's when I eat now. I used to eat on the desk like this because I was, no, I go downstairs. If it's like it's been today, I sit outside. I chew my food. You taught me all of that. And it's been great because, yes, my CBD was there to help me through that chronic phase, but I've dropped it back down to my usual balance. And this is why I'm saying it's not instead of all of those other things, it's as well as.
Exactly. And like we've talked about before, it's all about getting to the root cause, because the body is signalling to us that things are amiss. So there's no point putting a plaster on it, because that's all you're doing, and you take the plaster off and it's still a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to get to the root cause. We want to make sure that it isn't anything else, you know, more sinister that's affecting the gut or the symptoms, whatever they may be, even if it's not related to gut health. And then if it is, you know, coming from stress and anxiety, then it's what other strategies can we put in place? You know, what actually is going on, and how can we help ourselves? Because that's what it's about, taking that onus back onto ourselves, isn't it? What do we need to do? And I think sometimes even asking yourself, if a friend was going to come to you with this concern, what would you be telling them to do?
Yeah,
take yourself out of the picture. Is this serving you?
Yes.
What would you tell your best friend or your family member if they were having, these experiences?
And that's exactly, and I'm using me as an example because I thought I was, I do all my meditation, I do my exercise, I eat well. And it's so easy to slip down that slope of not putting yourself first. And it's really made me sit up and wake up to how important gut health actually is. And, our lifestyles are very fast. And, it's too easy to reach for something sugary and a rip and ding, as I call it, and actually putting whole foods in your body in a calm way is so important. But you can still have your cup of coffee, your sugary treat of whatever you want, but small and in moderation. Yeah.
Presso's rule, 80-20.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I still like a big glass of wine on a, but I'm not drinking a bottle. It's a glass of wine, and I enjoy it with a meal. But that's part of the relaxation, and
with food, not like a French do. Yeah.
But it's as I say, it's learning about that, and as you say, I've met so many people along the way that have terrible gut health but aren't prepared to change, and they want to take a quick fix, and CBD is not a quick fix. It's like you say, if you don't get to the root cause of it, it's a sticking plaster. It can help you, and on a longer term basis, it really does help your body balance. It helps reduce inflammation, and we both know that most ailments, it's due to inflammation. Any ailment, you've got this inflammation there. So if we can give it another way of CBD to help reduce that inflammation and good food going in the right plan, your body's going to reduce its inflammation, and what you'll find, your gut health may also improve by doing your plan and using the CBD. But then you may start to sleep better. Your hormones balance, so your monthly cycles are better. You may find that weird skin that you've got starts to clear up. And your migraines, people, I always have a headache. I noticed I always had a headache on, if it was Monday, if it was Tuesday, if I'd not drunk enough water, if I was tired, it was too bright, I was always getting a headache. I started taking this stuff, and I realised, my headaches have gone. So there's things there that you start to notice, but I think it's part of that wellness journey. So
completely, it's like looking after the body, the mind, and the soul, and especially women in business who are trying to do absolutely everything, need to have some self-care. Actually put the self-care in on a daily basis, and not think that you just have to work 24/7 in order to get where you want to be, because if that's your mindset, then that's what you will do, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, it's like today, the trade-off for me today was we sort of said I shut the computer now at 3 o'clock. I wanted to make a nice wholesome dinner, which we've done, but I also wanted my workout, which to me is really important. Doing my hair for some people is really, really important. For me today, doing my workout and cooking a wholesome dinner was more important than doing my hair, because I wanted to come on here and look nice, and I'm thinking, actually, no.
You look lovely.
Oh, bless you. But for me, cooking a wholesome dinner and doing my workout was far more important. And I think women need to, and men, need to find out what's important to them as well, and go, and if doing your hair is important because it makes you feel good, and believe me, it does make you feel good doing your hair, doesn't it? Or putting your makeup on, or having a cup of coffee, or, and like I said to you, or a green tea, or doing your Sudoku because you've taken that time out, or just going for what, find the thing that gives you your time out. And I think that's key as well.
Important. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your amazing knowledge and also your own personal experiences. I'm sure everybody just loves to hear all about that. It's like sort of stories from people who have actually used it and used it. So that's great.
Well, thank you so much, Ruth, and it's been a pleasure as always, and thank you for all your support with my gut health as well.
Oh gosh, no, not at all. And I have to say that I've been using your CBD oil in my clinic, so with quite a number of clients now, and personally myself, and I always get phenomenal feedback. So it's great to know that there is a great product out there that actually, when compared with other CBD oils, is very, very reasonably priced. So Eat Organics gets my go ahead.
Thank you. And that's why we do our jobs, to make people feel well, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.